You're listening to the Today in Manufacturing podcast.
Hi, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. I'm David Manti, and with me this week are Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells. We each have more than 15 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Every week, we take the 5 most popular stories on our website and discuss the implications they have on the industry going forward. Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. Finally, if you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, David, or Anna at IN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You can also subscribe to @IN Magazine on YouTube so you can catch us live every Friday around this time. Thanks for everybody that's joining us live now. We hear the banter online is already getting pretty excited.
Yeah.
Pretty excitable. All right. Before we get started, we have a word from our sponsor.
The most exciting and anticipated segment of the year is coming.
That's right. In September, we'll unveil the results of our 2022 Big 50 list of industrial distributors.
Our annual list ranks the top 50 industrial distributors by revenue and includes some information on the business strategies of these top companies.
In addition to this segment in our print magazine, we'll also reveal this year's ranking in our 3-part video countdown.
From September 27th to September 29th, we'll unveil this year's Big 50 companies with added commentary and analysis from our team and other industry experts.
We're super excited, and we hope you're excited too. Please join us for this year's Big 50.
You won't want to miss this.
And we're back. Anna, I forgot to ask, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No, that's, I feel like, we had IMTS this week.
Yeah.
And so everything is just, a beat or two or like a whole day lagging behind. Jeff, how are you doing this week?
Fine.
All right.
I thought you'd be quieter, but you're not.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, as I get more tired, the pitch is just higher and louder. It's just, it's effort overcompensating. Anna, could you tell us a little bit more about our sponsor this week?
I'd love to. I think I just did. But ID's Big 50 list is an annual ranking of the top 50 industrial distributors by sales revenue. This hotly anticipated list will be unveiled starting September 27th when we go live with our countdown video series, where we'll walk through the Big 50 from 50 to 1 over the course of 3 videos in 3 days. Check them out on our website, which is indist.com, indist.com. And you'll get to see the ranking, complete with a lot of great industry analysis to go along with it. You'll get to see me and Andy on that video as well. So
that's awesome. I, when we first started working with Industrial Distribution Magazine, I thought I knew. I had no idea what industrial distribution was. Basically my knowledge was I know of Grainger.
Yeah.
And that was about it. And no, I look forward to it every year. You guys do a great job with that.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah. Who's number 1?
Not going to tell you.
I thought maybe there's a chance.
You thought I was just slip.
Yeah, no, all right. Our first story this week. Bezos rocket crashes after liftoff, only experiments aboard. On Monday, a Blue Origin rocket crashed back to Earth shortly after liftoff. The New Shepard rocket was about a minute into flight when flames shot out from the single engine at the bottom. On the bright side, the capsule-carrying experiments parachuted to safety and nobody was on board. The emergency launch abort system lifted the craft off of the top. The launch accident was the first for Bezos' space travel company. That's Jeff Bezos, for any of you unfamiliar with which Bezos we're speaking of.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. However, it uses the same kind of rocket as the one that sends paying customers to the edge of space. The FAA has launched an investigation, and the rockets are grounded for the foreseeable future. The company reported a, quote, booster failure while the rocket was going 700 miles per hour at about 28,000 feet in the sky. The rocket was near max Q, and that's the point when it's under the maximum amount of pressure. The rocket is supposed to land upright on the desert floor and then be reused on future flights. Now, this was the 23rd flight for the New Shepard program and the 9th flight for this particular rocket capsule pair, which was dedicated to flying experiments. Jeff, I mean, the rocket had a good run, but when we're talking about these reusable craft, I think sometimes an accident like this makes people a little skeptical, especially when you're kind of tying in that space tourism along with the commercial space.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I think it's dramatic. Anytime we see something soaring through the sky and it explodes, it's okay to be freaked out a little bit and for this to get attention.
Yeah.
But the reality is when you look at the track record, when it comes to projecting these craft into space, into the heavens, we're actually doing pretty good. Right. I mean, over time, you mentioned this was the 23rd mission for this particular, for Shepard, the 9th time these two things have been paired up. And it did detach just like it's supposed to in case there is some sort of bad things happening. So if there was somebody in that capsule, they should have been okay. Because everything did work out.
Right.
And I think when you look overall, there's been such an increase with the privatization. When you got SpaceX, you got Blue Origin, you've got a handful of other folks doing this. Last year, there was a record number of orbital launches. They had something in the neighborhood of like 145 launches. 133 of them were successful, which means the payload got where it needed to go. The other ones, there wasn't necessarily a catastrophe involved. For whatever reason, they couldn't deliver what they needed to. They couldn't launch the satellites. They couldn't do what they were supposed to. I mean, there was one bad one with, I think it was Astra off the coast of Florida. That was not great. However, nobody was on board. Even when you look over time, like with NASA, again, there have been the two space shuttle incidents with Challenger and Columbia. Other than that, they've had over 130 crewed missions without incident.
Right.
So again, our track record is good. We're going to continue to see these things unfortunately happen. But again, SpaceX set a record last year. They launched over 30 missions, had over 30 launches. They did that many by July of this year.
Yeah.
So this isn't slowing down. This is going to continue to happen, and we are going to experience these types of things. What is so reassuring is nobody's been hurt.
Right. No, and to your point, the emergency detach procedure worked as it was supposed to. And the capsule still reached more than 37,000 feet. The 36 experiments that were on board still, got a few minutes of weightlessness, although it didn't say how long they were supposed to be up there. And half of them were sponsored by NASA, mostly from students. Anna, I was wondering, what does the refund policy look like?
On the experiments?
Yeah, I have to imagine getting a payload on this thing is a bit pricey.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, so we only got a few minutes up there and you kind of promised 15. So do you prorate it? Does it go towards their next launch?
Yeah, do they have to furnish a receipt or I don't know.
Right, just like, you guys really lost the receipt? Come on now.
I agree with Jeff on a lot of what he said. I do think that this actually speaks to the safety of the system when you see how it was handled. I think, kind of what you were alluding to, it's scary when we grew up, and we all saw that Challenger incident, and it's just worrisome that something like that could happen again. But the safety record of this new Shepard program is really good. They had an anomaly when they first launched in 2015 where the booster crashed when it landed. But since then, it's been, I think, almost 24 successful launches, which is not enough to get me on it, but it's still...
I thought that's where we were going. I thought we'd broken her down.
Finally that I was going to be like, so I've booked a ticket.
She's been against it this entire time, but right after the crash.
It was all of that information I put out about how safe it was. It just changed everything for her.
That was it.
Nope.
Nope. But you look at, you had mentioned SpaceX and we had talked a lot about how the visibility of some of the accidents that they've had with those uncrewed launches and how scary those are. And is that going to have an impact on people's, willingness to do this? Maybe. But as you mentioned, these two companies, they've still never had a fatality. Virgin Galactic has, and they are still selling, tickets to space. And they do all of their test flights crewed. So I think there's a risk in that, right? But overall, if you look at crewed space flight missions over time, they have about a 1.4% fatality rate, Russian and American crewed space flight missions. So I thought that was interesting. But if you put that into perspective, as much of this stuff is going on in the public eye and is still quite dangerous, look at stuff that people will do without even batting an eye. The FAA tracks, the crashes that occur on those smaller planes, like those Cessnas and those 4-seater prop planes.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about like just scroll any social media platform any time of the day.
Yeah.
And you'll see people making way worse decisions. With
Oh,
their
well,
regular
yes,
life.
for sure. But but what I was getting at was this FAA data that suggests that there are approximately 5 small plane crashes a day.
Oh, man.
And that's usually because of pilot error and weather conditions, stuff like that. Unlikely factors that you would see in a space launch. So what I'm getting at here, and this is my very unscientific opinion, but if you're ready to go on a sightseeing tour in like a Cessna,
Oh,
then
yeah.
you're ready
Yeah.
to go to space.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably just as safe, if
Interesting
not
parallel.
safer.
No, it's safer to go to space. It's harder to get a ticket.
Harder to get a ticket.
Maybe you got to finance it.
There's that part.
Yeah. I once worked with a guy when I was working at a factory, and we were just talking casually at lunch. He's like, "Yeah, I crashed my plane this weekend, but it was fine. I got a couple of bumps and bruises on me." And he was talking about how it was his like 3rd time crashing it, and so I figured it was like an RC drone, because he was talking so casually about it, just like, "Yeah, I crashed it into a field. I'm fine." And then afterwards, he's like, "No, it was like an actual plane that I was piloting." I'm like, "Okay, after 3, you got to maybe call it on the hobby."
Yeah, or get some training here.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was like a
terrifying.
licensed pilot, and
You don't, but I mean, I know that there are some pilots, there are lots of pilots out there that are very, very experienced that fly those, but there are some that, I mean, you can get away with not that much flight time before you start, you know?
Well, he was like a seasoned vet. Like he would actually take higher ups in the company because it was kind of like a novelty where he would fly people from the company to nearby potential clients and partners in the Midwest. And I found that out, and I'm like, don't you guys maybe want to reconsider your travel method if he just had his 3rd plane crash?
Yeah. Red flag.
Red flag.
Get in one of those Hyperloop things instead.
That's right. Get in a pod.
This reminds me of that conversation where I accidentally swore about that eVTOL, that one that was like the kit building thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You accidentally swore.
Jeff, I know where Anna stands on this, but do things like this make you any more skeptical when it comes to a potential trip to the edge of space?
No, I'd go in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would?
I think it would be terrifying
Yeah.
until it like got there, like the whole process, I would definitely be petrified. But to get that experience to see like the Earth from outer space, that'd be, I couldn't pass that up.
No, agreed. That's why we need to launch the podcast Patreon, and then I think we're just a few steps away from financing it.
Oh, just a few.
Just a few.
Just a few.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that on the broadcast, Blue Origin's commentators went silent for a while when everything went bad. And then they finally said, "It appears we've experienced an anomaly with today's flight. This wasn't planned." And I really feel for commentators in those moments where, what do you say? Like, obviously that wasn't planned, but you can't remain speechless.
I think the one thing that I would definitely reiterate is there was nobody on board.
Yeah.
Like, just make sure that's very clear when you see something
Right,
like
yeah.
that. But
Experiments by students, and kids live with a lot of disappointment these days, so don't worry about it.
I was actually looking up some different safety stats. How many accidents do you think the average person is in, car accidents, is in their lifetime?
I don't know.
If you had to guess.
3.
The stat is, they say that you're in a car accident, the average driver's in an accident every blank years.
Oh,
1 every blank number of years.
7.
Whoa.
20?
I'm going with 3s and 7s.
Yeah, you're closer. It's 18.
Oh, okay.
Once every 18 years. So in your lifetime, you are going to be in like 4 to 5 car accidents.
How am I going to drive home after that, Jeff?
How many of you?
I'm due.
You're gonna
come
backload
on.
yours.
Yeah, no, mine will all be when I'm senile.
How many of you had already?
I've not. Or are these accidents that like you're the driver or just in? So like
Just
if
in.
like your friend's driving. I mean, that's
They're
not
in.
my fault that Chief brought us off the road.
No one said it was
No
your
one's
fault.
coming at you.
I'm
Relax,
just saying.
man.
Okay. These are
just
just overall
in.
accidents you're
Yeah.
in. Oh, then I'm good for the last 18.
You've been in that many?
I've been in a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should be good for a while. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Drivers on the Beltline are crazy.
They are.
True.
That's, man,
I thought that was interesting.
18 years from now, I'm going to have an anxiety attack that I won't know where it's coming from. Just like,
You're welcome.
it was episode 85. All right, our next most popular story this week. Personal submarines become more affordable. The U-Boat Works Nemo submersible series made a splash this week with a pair of submarines that start at just about $545,000. Now, that's still a pretty penny, but until now, the average price for a personal submarine ranged from $2.5 to $3.5 million. So it's more affordable? The Nemo 1 and Nemo 2 both dive up to 330 feet below the surface. The Nemo 1 can carry 1 passenger. The Nemo 2 can carry 2. Both reach up to 3 knots, which is about 3.5 miles per hour under the water. Perhaps the most interesting feature is that you don't need a large ocean-faring vessel to launch Nemo. They can be deployed from the beach or smaller boats, or even launched after being towed on a trailer behind a car. The company hopes to have 1,000 submarines in operation by 2030. Jeff, would you bet your lucky fin that they reach 1,000 submarines by 2030?
My what?
It's a Nemo reference.
Lucky. Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Okay.
But
Just keep swimming, Jeff.
Yep, I remember that. I thought this story was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it. This was really cool. And what I really appreciated, Ben put this story together. His last line here is, even if the Nemo is still out of your price range, or at least it's a positive step towards a world with a submarine in every driveway.
That's right.
It's just like Norman Rockwell, right? A submarine in every driveway.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was, I thought this was really cool. I think this could actually, the thing that leads to the thing, right? I think there's a lot of potential applications here for this.
It had to be done.
Yeah.
Whatever's on it.
I think you could. That's the next step.
That's it?
That's the next
leading
step.
to that?
Mm-hmm.
No, I like this for potential number of applications down the line. I think, first of all, just from an educational perspective, being able to see what's underneath the water might make people think a lot more about preserving this environment that you're in. I mean, think about it. Before you get a fishing license or a boating license, you have to actually go see this environment. It might make you think a little bit more about the way you behave on the water in terms of letting stuff fly off the end of the boat, or not caring so much about what happens with those beer cans or anything else, which is really frustrating to everybody who does care.
Agreed.
Obviously, from kids wanting to get into marine biology, all that kind of stuff. You could also see, we've talked a ton about all the plastics that are getting into rivers and oceans and everything else. If this starts to come into, not that $500,000 is a super affordable option, but if we see this trending in the right direction, potentially more of these Bay areas could invest in this type of vehicle to help with some of the cleanup involved. You could also see some law enforcement opportunities here as well. See a lot of, we've done stories on drug smuggling operations gone bad, trying to use these personal sort of jimmy-rigged submarines and stuff like that.
So you want them to go good?
What's that?
You want them to go good?
Safe for drug
Law
smuggling.
enforcement.
Yeah, I just...
Catch 'em, Anna. Guys, first you're anti-jobs and now you're pro-drugs.
Well, she's been pro-drug
that
running
is
ever
controversial. Unreal.
I feel like I'm being misrepresented on this show.
So I like I said, I thought this was really cool. Just breaking down, but there's actually 2 of these that you can lease or rent out for like a week.
Yeah.
How much would you pay to get in one of these things to either, because if you can't afford me, maybe you guys are doing a little better than I am. Maybe you can just, plop down $500,000 for one of these and move on. But
No, like I said, the Today in Manufacturing Patreon page, and we are on our way to an IEN submarine. No, how much is it to rent?
So if you break it down, okay, 70 to 75 grand for a week. Okay.
Oh,
So that's about 10 grand a day. But if it's 24 hours, that comes down to about $450 an hour.
it's not bad.
Now, I would definitely pay $450 an hour to have one of these for that. But obviously it's not going to work out. But if there was an opportunity to rent these, like you rent a boat or a jet ski or something, that'd be amazing.
Well, and I think Anna wants to get into that a little bit. But that is an interesting point about the educating people on what lies beneath the ocean floor, because we talk a lot about, I would think I would sooner go to space than travel in one of these to the depths of the ocean, because to me, that is the most terrifying. I'm just like, oh, you want me to rent a tiny coffin and bring it to the bottom of the ocean? Pass.
You don't have to go all the way to the bottom.
Well,
and you could
once
just
I'm in
take
there,
you could just take
And you get to be alone with a stranger who is certified to drive it.
Yeah, right.
So if that adds to its appeal.
Yeah. So Anna, would you be more likely to rent one of these And Jesse's on your side, who's watching us live. Thank you, Jesse. Jesse says, pro-drug and anti-jobs. Vote Anna. Actually,
That's my platform.
that would be a great button. It actually
button.
It actually came up at IMTS when we were being interviewed about the podcast this week. Anna's like, yeah, we cover a range of things. And somehow it recently popped up that I'm anti-jobs. And she's like, I just want to let everybody know right now, I'm not anti-jobs. Sorry, go ahead about whether or not you would take a submarine.
Do you really have to ask this question?
I don't know because maybe you go the other way.
Yeah.
Think about this. You got small kids. What
Right.
about the ROI just on all the stuff that flies off the boat and the end of the pier? How many safety goggles and toys and other stuff? You haven't lost a bunch of those?
You think I'd make my money back?
No, but
With like all the pool
Not even
noodles that I've
close.
lost?
Yeah, $450 in pool noodles you would reclaim.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I like where you're going, Jeff, but I don't know if I feel like that's kind of a slow play on like making everyone go to the depths of the ocean to like see how much plastic is in there. Like, can't you just take our word for it and stop throwing
doesn't need to
stuff
be-
in the water? Like,
it doesn't need to be the ocean. This could be lakes and everything else too.
yes, I get that, but like it's not like it's a big vessel. I mean, it's not an efficient.
One kid at a time, one person at a time.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. I do think that, you know, and you brought this up. I think probably the best application for this, or the most useful, would be sort of a recreational type market, a tourism type thing. I could see these being rented out for exploration. I mean, because if it's a fancy toy for the wealthy, then my interest in it like stops there. Like I don't care about that. You know, I'm tired of that stuff. We have better things to deal with on this planet. But and research submarines already exist, right? I mean, maybe this brings the cost down on something like that as the technology matures, whatever. But if you're looking at what I think is the most realistic application, I guess, would be that tourism one. I just don't know if there's like a baseline of qualified maintenance personnel well-versed in submarine technology that would make me feel good about this. Like my guess is that they're expensive to operate and probably expensive to fix. And I guess I'd worry about businesses kind of cutting corners and evading regulations because they can get away with it. Like, you know what I mean? Because you see like boat accidents happen all the time because people's objective is selling tickets. And so these tour boats, like, you know, they're in disrepair. The people's driving them aren't well trained, or they're not licensed. When you're 3 knots below the surface, something goes wrong. Life jacket's not going to help you. So I don't know. It doesn't. To me, I feel claustrophobic just thinking about this. But again, I am like the wet blanket of the panel, so I never want to do any of this stuff. If someone wants to invent like watching a movie and just like hanging out and having some popcorn, I would do that.
Anna's looking for a movie night inventor.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with you, Anna. I think it could make the biggest impact on universities and researchers, especially if they could find a way for them to be retrofitted with different types of tools at a relatively low cost. And actually, to your point, if you go to the company's website, so the company says that it'll also work for yachting, which I didn't know that was necessarily a word, yachting. I don't use it much.
Never used it, yeah.
Cruise operations, which to your tourism point, I could definitely see this being an option on a cruise where it's like, hey, do you want $450 for an hour in one of these? And all of a sudden, you know, I mean, I can't remember what we bought. We bought like a mimosa breakfast for somebody because of a wedding. I would totally buy them an hour on a Nemo.
A mimosa on a submarine? Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Also used in cinematography. And Jeff, kind of to your point, they don't break it down to where you can buy it per hour, but they do have a joint ownership program where you can buy an eighth of them. So you can buy an eighth of a share in a sub, and you get it for 41 days per year.
A timeshare?
So they're selling
Totally
timeshares.
Totally worth it.
It is. It's still $80,000. But Anna, to your point is that so right now they're sort of they have hubs where they can launch these submarines, and they have all the technicians there that would take care of the maintenance and make sure that they're, you know.
Right, but if these were to, I mean,
If it was on a cruise ship,
you got a hub, so everyone's going to go to the hub. I mean, if you're going to sell these nationwide, then you lose that.
Well, it's just like a Tesla, right? The mechanic comes to you.
Does he?
Yeah.
Hope so.
What is more realistic in your guys' eyes? Personal submarines or a personal hovercraft? Because we covered that a few weeks ago too.
Well, the hovercraft is more universally applicable, I think.
Less expensive, right?
Yeah. How about personal flying cars? Where does that fit in?
A flying car?
Yeah. Well, so personal submarines, I see, we did that Von Mercer hovercraft, and to me it seems like cool, but that's kind of like having an ATV where you have it and then you use it and you're like, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to use this all the time. Whereas a submarine, you could launch that and just discover.
I think I'd be more likely to use a hovercraft flying car or something than I would. I mean, just the weather alone kind of dictates that, doesn't it?
True. All right. I mean, hey, all my hypotheticals can't be winners. All right. Our next most popular story this week, world's largest silicon carbide materials facility planned for the U.S. Last Friday, Wolfspeed announced plans to build a new multi-billion-dollar materials manufacturing facility in Chatham County, North Carolina. The investment will boost the company's current silicon carbide production capacity on its Durham campus by 10 times. The facility will primarily produce 200-millimeter silicon carbide wafers. Phase 1 construction is scheduled to be completed by 2024 and will cost approximately $1.3 billion. After the plant is built, the company hopes to add additional capacity as needed, eventually occupying more than 1 million square feet on its 445-acre site. North Carolina is putting up an incentive package of roughly $1 billion. The company could also receive federal funding from the new CHIPS and Science Act, which would accelerate construction. Anna, over the next 8 years, the company says it could create 1,800 new jobs. How do you feel about those projections?
I think I'll take one of those jobs just so I can say that I work for Wolfspeed. Can you hear that in the mic? The whisper? Wolfspeed.
It is.
Wolfspeed.
It is a fantastic name.
It's such an awesome name. We should name our podcast something else, like
Wolfspeed in manufacturing. Today in Wolfspeed.
I mean, Wolfspeed's been taken, but something just like with a little more.
Like today in Fox jogging.
All right, so I did a little research on Wolfspeed. Did you guys know that Wolfspeed is the same company as Cree, but they just changed their name to Wolfspeed? I did know that. They just changed their name to Wolfspeed last year.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was.
I did not know that.
I thought that was a little bit longer ago.
Me neither. Yeah. So Cree was well known for being a lighting company, as you guys know. They made LEDs and they used silicon carbide for the diode in those LEDs. So this company was making LEDs before they were making these wafers, actually. Mm-hmm. And what's so interesting is how they followed this different path as they went. So seeing the opportunity in semiconductors, they sold their lighting division in 2019 and they sold their LED business in 2021. And they're just going full bore into semiconductors, which included, I don't know if you mentioned this, a facility that they just opened this year in New York, Marcy, New York. And that's the world's first, largest, and only fully automated 200 millimeter silicon carbide fabrication facility. And with this, they're kind of doubling down on that. And I think it's kind of cool when you look at their path, which began in the 1980s, and how they really followed the technology trends and not just sticking with the one that brought them to the dance, so to speak.
Right.
And Cree was one of the biggest lighting manufacturers in the world.
Oh, yeah.
But instead of sticking around in this market that's sort of dominated by now Chinese manufacturing and has sort of become a commodity since LEDs are everywhere globally, they took this aggressive strategy and basically vacated that business. And they're going full bore towards semiconductors. And that's, I think, going to put them in a pretty strong position as they are, responding to this super strong market demand for these wafers.
No, when that initially happens, I think the market responded thinking that that was going to be a niche part of their business, just kind of because it seemed sort of like an outlier to their core business. And thank you for bringing that up. That is just a really interesting transformation that company has undergone in the last 3-4 years. Jeff, what were you thinking when you read this story? I know that we've seen a lot of new chip manufacturing deals come to the U.S. What did you think about this one in particular?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, and I didn't recognize the name, didn't know of the affiliation with Cree. I mean, that makes a ton of sense, but just doing a little bit of research, I mean, $750 million company. Now, it's got a global presence, all that. that doesn't even put it in the top 20 in terms of semiconductor manufacturers, though. It's crazy the size and scope of this marketplace. But like you alluded to, they've got this focus. And with the carbide silicone products that they put out, these wafers that they put out, it's really meant for more robust, more industrial type applications, bigger stuff. So when you look at some of the applications here, EV powertrains, data centers, wind and solar power, aerospace and defense, you couldn't be in a better place. North Carolina and the Durham area, they're putting a lot of money into this. It's an investment or incentive package worth over $1 billion, I believe. So when we hear that, that is a bit of a gamble, but it seems like they're in the right place. I mean, with all of these different sectors and the way it's been growing, the other thing is when you look in that area, in the Durham area, in terms of some of the companies that are there, you've got Siemens, ABB, Eaton, John Deere. I mean, these are all Caterpillar. These are all perfect fits and sort of developing an ecosystem there. If you've got the chips and then you've got the customers there as well, it seems like a really good match. So it seems like all of the pieces have kind of fit together to make this work. The one thing that's going to be interesting is we're talking about another plant that's not going to be coming online until 2024. We would hope things are different then, you know, and hopefully that this is coming online at a time where they can still take advantage of all of those needs that are going to be out there, especially for like the electric vehicle infrastructure and other stuff like that they're counting on to sort of take that next step and justify this huge investment that they're making. So like I said, everything's lined up to work. Yeah. We just can't read the tea leaves and see what things are going to be like in a year and a half.
See, and I see they said 2024 is as everything stands. But, you know, as the rush for free money continues, that might actually be bumped up significantly. I wanted to look into the Chips and Science Act a little bit more because, I mean, it provides $52.7 billion for American semiconductor research, development, manufacturing, and workforce development. Of that, $39 billion is earmarked for manufacturing incentives. So there could be quite a bit more coming to Wolfspeed to try and get this plant up and running a little bit faster.
Okay, what... It's it's $1.3 billion plant. They already got $1 billion for it.
Yeah.
At what? I mean, how much more are they going to get?
I mean, those incentives that's over a current amount of time, so it's not just for production or for the facility. But I get your point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the $1 billion from the state is probably a long-term related to jobs,
tax abatement, and all that stuff. Yes,
so,
I know.
Whereas from the Chips and Science Act, that could be immediate money.
Right.
Another $13.2 billion is earmarked for R&D and workforce development, and the law also provides for a 25% investment tax credit for capital expenses for manufacturing of semiconductors and related equipment. So, you know, if they're able to push forward a little bit faster with this and qualify for some of these incentives, they could be seeing quite a bit more money in terms of support. Now, the other thing is that the administration says that there are going to be guardrails with access to this money. But, you know, just this week, they announced that there was a COVID-19 fraud strike force. And I just remember, like, I mean, obviously we're not in the same, it's apples and oranges comparison. But, I mean, that relief came out more than 2 years ago. And just now they're getting to the strike force because there's been more than $7 billion in fraud already.
Let's look into it.
Yeah. You know what? We've already caught about like 1,800 people. We should probably take a deeper dive. And so I just kind of think about that a little bit more where, you know, it is a significant amount of money, $52.7 billion. And just when you're talking about within a year and a half, I mean, trying to get access to the money, moving it so much quicker, you kind of want to make sure that there's really good oversight there.
Yeah, you would hope it's a little bit different when you're talking about realistically, 75 companies, 100 companies that in total could potentially be looking to take advantage as opposed to, you know, 200 million people, individuals. So you would hope that the, distribution and the sort of bureaucratic structure of it would allow to make sure it's going in the right places. But definitely a valid thought when we heard some of those crazy stories that were coming out from that relief money, what people were using it for and just abusing it. So hopefully all of those systems that we've talked about before for all of these types of manufacturing investments are being paid attention to.
Guardrails.
Right. I want to see what the form is. I want to check out the stack of forms you got to fill out to apply for this money. And hopefully it's not just provide a link to your URL here.
And then they're like, how many traffic lights do you see in this photo?
True. The CAPTCHA. Fill out the CAPTCHA. All right. Our next most popular story this week. Manufacturing defect caused pipeline explosion. On August 1st, 2019, a 30-inch Enbridge natural gas pipeline near Danville, Kentucky, ruptured. The gas ignited, the pipeline exploded, 14 homes were damaged, 5 houses were completely destroyed, and 1 person was killed. The crack released about 101.5 million cubic feet of natural gas that ignited. The blast was so powerful that it launched a 33-foot-long section of pipeline nearly 500 feet. Now, this week, the National Transportation Safety Board said the accident could be traced back to a manufacturing defect and ineffective cathodic protection, which is an electrochemical method to prevent corrosion on buried pipelines. A pre-existing manufacturing defect, known as a hard spot, combined with degraded pipeline coating and the ineffective cathodic protection, led to hydrogen-induced cracking at the outer surface of the pipe. According to the NTSB, Enbridge's integrity management program failed to assess the pipeline's condition accurately or estimate the risk from interacting threats. The NTSB issued 6 safety recommendations, 3 to Enbridge and 3 to the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. And the pipe was manufactured in 1957 to, at the time, American Petroleum Institute pipeline standards. Now, as you look into this story, the company certainly did a lot to try and make sure the pipeline was still up to standards. But when they miss something like this and a tragic accident like this happens, I mean, it could have been so much worse depending on where the problem happened.
Right. And this is American infrastructure. This is stuff that, you know, we're at risk, facing this kind of risk all over the place. The line in the article that was most chilling to me was this one, quote, Enbridge underestimated the risk posed by hard spots because its processes and procedures were inconsistent with industry knowledge, unquote. Mm-hmm. To me, that's easily broken down to read that the people maintaining this massive multi-billion-dollar pipeline, like, did not stay on top of continuing education and as a result did not know what they were doing. Like, I mean, how would you feel if you went to a doctor and that doctor treated you for your disease with a method that was outdated, not knowing that the science had evolved or there was a new alternate methods that were now being utilized? Like, that's the same scenario to me. Like, procedures inconsistent with industry knowledge means somebody dropped the ball on education and training. And that is incredibly alarming for a project of this scope. And if I'm understanding this correctly, the standards being applied were those in use when the pipeline was manufactured in the 1950s.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And so, I mean, we've discussed this a lot, and I don't have to tell you guys, but, you know, how much do you think is maybe like slipping through the cracks right now as people in maintenance roles retire en masse, they leave their posts, they're replaced with newer people with less experience, or even worse, maybe by one person doing 2 jobs. You know, this was in 2019 that this happened. I don't think it's probably better now in 2022 when we have this shortage of workers and shortage of skills getting worse and worse and worse every day. The whole thing was very concerning to read the details of it.
Yeah. Well, and Enbridge is responsible for transporting about 20% of the natural gas consumed in the U.S. And I mean, the pipeline is what, 8,250 miles long? It's remarkable. Jeff, what were your thoughts on this, particularly with some of the things, the safety recommendations that the NTSB wound up coming up with?
Well, Jess, here's your soapbox moment, okay?
Yes.
Because this one really pissed me off, if I'm going to be honest. Enbridge is a $160 billion company. They've got pipelines all over North America. If they didn't know that these 60-year-old pipes had the ability to corrode and cause problems, I do not believe it for 1 minute, okay? You can talk about it slipping through the cracks, people not knowing. They knew. I guarantee they knew. Did they anticipate it being this level of an issue and creating this much damage and creating this big of an exposure? Probably not. But they knew that these pipes were susceptible to this. There is a way to test. We've got enough machine vision and inspection technology out there that if they wanted to invest in safety and making sure that these pipes are running the way they should, they can do it. They can. They chose not to. And one of the reasons they chose not to is, of all the agencies that could be chosen to investigate this issue, they picked the National Transportation and Safety Board. Why? How can we have the NTSB, the people who are in charge of investigating aircraft incidents, Okay. And checking on that, how can they also be the folks that are checking on pipelines? Now, it is within their jurisdiction. The thought is it's transporting energy or fuel or whatever that falls under their jurisdiction. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be because, again, it's not on a train. It's not on a plane. It's not on a semi-truck. Why is the NTSB investigating pipelines? Yeah. Okay. The other problem is the NTSB is nothing but an investigative force. That's all they do. They look into it, and when it's an air travel situation, they give their findings to the FAA, and the FAA levies the fines. In this instance, all you got out of this was 6 safety recommendations. Yeah. Recommendations. No fines, no punitive damage, nobody was put on trial or anything. This is what's wrong here. The NTSB, we talk about no teeth, get somebody like OSHA, get somebody like the EPA involved here who can actually make Enbridge change what they're going to do, not somebody who's going to issue some paper full of recommendations. Yeah. That's the problem here.
Yeah. Well, and I think, to the NTSB's credit, when you read the investigative report, it is all-inclusive. And I mean, I agree when it comes to the penalty and actually trying to, get some real change to happen, because the NTSB has come out in other industries and talked about recommendations that they've made, particularly in automotive, that nobody has listened to. So I understand with you there not having any teeth. But in terms of an investigation agency, in my opinion, they did a really good job here in terms of finding the root cause of the problem, figuring out who was responsible for the problem. And it does include in the report that Enbridge kind of knew that the pipes were bad and did a lot of investigation with this, basically huge worm that goes through the tube, right? And identified certain parts that needed to be replaced, and they kind of dug up some of those, tried to repair them, and filled them back in without completely replacing the pipeline. So, I mean, but still, even with all that, this was missed and caused a catastrophic problem.
Okay, first of all, I have no issue with the NTSB investigators. I'm not attacking them. They're doing their job. They're doing exactly what they've been instructed to do and how everything is formulated and laid out for them to do. Yeah. I'm still not giving Enbridge a participation trophy for trying and efforting in the right direction.
No, yeah, it's like they still missed it. They still missed it. And if you look at the photos in the report, I mean, the size of the crater left by this thing was huge. I mean, it had to be at least 40 feet by 5 feet and then, 3 to 4 feet deep, if not more. The photos of the pipeline was absolutely mangled. And you think of a 30-foot long, 3 foot in diameter pipe being launched 500 feet. It is incredible. The pipeline also has a crazy history of incidents. So the NTSB examined the history with Enbridge's pipeline involving specifically line 15 here. So the history includes a 2003 rupture, an operational modification that changed the flow direction between 2014 and 2017, which means they sent the gas going the other way, and an emergency Danville compressor station shutdown in 2019. The flow direction change was big because it was contributing to the accident. Contributing to this specific accident was that gas flow reversal project, which increased external corrosion and hydrogen evolution. Now, a lot of this also, what's frustrating for me, came down to human error and bad training. And we saw this with the explosion that I believe was in San Francisco. On May 8th, 2019, there was an emergency shutdown that occurred at the Danville compressor station. During this particular emergency shutdown, the station operator demonstrated, quote, a fundamental lack of knowledge of station operations when he failed to troubleshoot the problem and closed a valve irrelevant to the event. Now, from the NTSB, had Enbridge disqualified, requalified, or provided remedial training to the operator, the closure of the valve during the August 1st, 2019 rupture may not have been delayed, potentially reducing the volume of gas released.
Remedial.
Yeah, that was the most frustrating or infuriating thing for me, was that it happened a few months before. And the guy had to essentially, flip a switch or a button to turn off. Basically, he had to look at where the issue was and turn off the valve. And he didn't do it fast enough. And they knew this person was already incapable and didn't do the proper training or find somebody else to replace this person. That's what I found frustrating, because so many times we talk about all these things that we can automate and bring tech into, and sometimes it still comes down to human error that could have prevented a catastrophic problem. I don't know. But again, another story from an NTSB investigation, and those reports are just fun reading. They are like, it is a level of, we have a very tech-focused engineering and mechanical-focused readership and viewership. And if they have the time, to read those, I think it's just geek haven. Because there are so many photos of like people testing for hard spots. I'm like, I just find this interesting. It's my bedtime reading for the week. All right. Not the entire week. There are some nights at IMTS. I didn't do any reading those nights. All right. Let's move to our most popular story this week. And it's a collection of stories all surrounding the railway averting strike after a labor deal was reached. Now, it's a collection because the most popular was how the unions were blasting the rails move to delay shipments before deadline, and then it was the tentative labor deal being reached, and then today it was rail workers and the key concessions that they won in the deal. So we're going to kind of sum it up. It's also a look at how, when it's the doom and gloom headline, they're going to shut down the rails. That's the one that does thousands of views on the website. And then it's like, no, they reached a deal. We really made it out, guys. Crisis averted. And everyone's like, pass. All right. Yeah, I saw the headline. We're fine. Anyway, a tentative railway labor deal has been made and a potentially devastating strike averted. Railroads and union representatives were in negotiations for 20 hours at the Labor Department on Wednesday to hammer out a deal. The strike could have started today, Friday, and shut down rail lines across the country. Businesses that rely on the railroads say that the strike would be devastating. Jeff, you mentioned this last week, but the work stoppage could have cost the economy more than $2 billion a day. President Joe Biden reportedly made a key phone call to Labor Secretary Marty Walsh late on Wednesday and asked them to consider the harm to families, farmers, and businesses if a shutdown occurred. Well, in the deal, the raises for workers will be the biggest in more than 40 years. Average rail worker salaries will reach $110,000 per year by the end of this 5-year deal in 2025. The deal also includes one additional paid leave day a year, but railroads also agreed to let workers take unpaid time off for doctor's appointments and medical procedures without being penalized under attendance rules. Workers will have to pay a larger share of their health insurance costs, but now, Jeff, all members of the 12 railroad unions will have to vote on the deal that was negotiated by the engineers and conductors. And it's not necessarily a done deal.
Yeah, a couple different things here. The article pointed out how President Biden was in a real unique situation there in terms of walking the line between the unions that helped get him elected and obviously the impact that this would have if they actually did go on strike. So it was interesting there. I think coming out of this, we have, like I said, we've been covering this for a while in terms of what's going on. I was looking at some of the average salaries and what this increase is really going to mean. Right now, when you look at the conductors, the average conductor salary, probably somewhere between 75 and maybe in the high 80s. Mm-hmm. So good paying job. These engineers, a little bit more than that, probably between 95 and 105,000. Good paying jobs that are now going to be better. But what this represents, and we've talked about this a lot as well, is how the workplace continues to evolve. And companies, these entities need to evolve with it. Mm-hmm. There was so much that went on during the pandemic that everybody sort of sucked it up and drove on for the good of everyone. Now they want to be treated appropriately, that we've made it through. It's time to pay up a little bit. So it's going to be, I think that's positive. And again, hopefully it shows a lesson to a lot of other folks that are involved in transportation and supply chain that things are different throughout manufacturing, really. The other thing is this isn't a 5-year deal. Mm-hmm. This is more like a 2 1/3-year deal. Right. Because this is up in 2024. And I think unless the railways, one of the things that really drove this was the cuts that have been made through the railways in terms of cutting a lot of jobs, not hiring people to replace them. So what's going to go on there in the next couple of years? Are they going to bring in more people to sort of share the load? Are they going to continue to pay the folks that are currently there? Because we don't want to be back here. It puts everybody in such a weird spot. Everybody wants these folks to get paid, But at the same time, we've got a lot of other things going on, a lot of other economic pressures, whether it's inflation, fuel costs, all of those types of things that we need to consider and think about as well. So crisis averted, everyone's happy. Let's hope we're not back here in 2 years.
No, Jeff, to that point, I mean, hundreds of railroad workers have left the industry this year. And Anna, they haven't been replaced yet because the railroads are dealing with the same issues that every manufacturer listening to this podcast are dealing with. Every company, every person is the worker shortage. And, it's good that the people on staff now and the future employees will be better compensated, but that's still a threat to the industry.
Yeah. And, I think, first of all, as Jeff mentioned, this is a big relief to a lot of people in the industry. I saw that the head of NAW, the National Association of Wholesale Distributors, Eric Hopland, was on CNN a few days ago describing just how panicked the industry was about the potential for this strike. They're already working so far out on orders. This would have been such a mess. I think he used the phrase catastrophic consequences and reinforced what great news it was that this was potentially being settled, because there was talk about, changes and challenges in transporting fuel and causing gas prices to start spiking again, or even for chemicals to clean America's water supply being held up. I mean, that's terrifying, right? There was a lot at stake there. But I think, secondly, it's important to point out what the contingency plan would have been, which would have been more over-the-road trucks, which we don't have.
Right. Yeah. Another shortage.
Yeah. I mean, really, though, again, higher gas prices, more emissions, more congestion, more delays. It would have been a disaster. And we talk, we hear manufacturers and distributors talk about their order books and just how far out they're working. And this would have been so much worse. But I think it's also important to mention how really good it is for these rail workers who for so long have been working with these very inflexible schedules. And they've just been looking for some basic accommodations for taking time off to go to the doctor or deal with a family emergency or something. So things that we, often take for granted that, some of these workers they're on call for weeks at a time. And there was these point systems in place where they were getting docked points for having to go to the doctor and stuff. That's just stuff that, it is. It's antiquated. It's not going to fly anymore. You can't expect these workers to be on call for weeks and then you be unwilling to discuss that. It's just too easy at this point for those people to find somewhere else to work. And if you look at what's happening in over-the-road trucking, and you look at those wages, which are also pretty good. I mean, you can get a job driving a Walmart truck. You make like $85,000, $90,000 a year. Mm-hmm. But nobody wants to do it still because you're away from your home for so long and it's so inflexible and it's so difficult to live a regular life. Mm-hmm. So rail has those same risks, those same barriers. They really need to get serious about the people in charge need to be talking to the unions and figuring out how can we make this work.
Right.
Because these workers could easily strike or they could easily walk away.
Well, and not also easily walking away and striking with the railroad, but, many workers remain frustrated with the current working conditions. We were talking about the cuts. They cut nearly a third of their workforce over the past 6 years. And there's been a lot of chatter on social media about people suggesting that they should reject this deal. As you guys had mentioned too, shippers have complained loudly this year about delayed deliveries, poor service, and regulators have demanded that railroads improve their service. But I think it's a nice sigh of relief after things got very close to getting real today. And hopefully it's not just, a 2.5 year patch like you're thinking, Jeff.
Well, and rejecting it would have been very dangerous because this is the same level that the other unions previously agreed to. Okay. So if the conductors and engineers would have said no to the same, was a 24% increase, 24%, the $5,000 bonus, the time off stuff that Anna talked about, they would have put themselves in a very unfavorable, I think, from a public sentiment perspective in terms of people sticking with them. So that would have been tough, I think.
What was the number last year or last week that you said in terms of like total workers still at the railroad? It was like tens of thousands, right? If not 100,000?
Yeah, I think it was like 110,000, yeah.
Yeah, it's just an incredible amount of people that work in that industry. And I think they're often overlooked, their contributions to the entire economy. Mm-hmm. All right, well, before we get rolling with In Case You Missed It, we have another word from our sponsor, the industrial distribution Big 50.
The most exciting and anticipated segment of the year is coming.
That's right. In September, we'll unveil the results of our 2022 Big 50 list of industrial distributors.
Our annual list ranks the top 50 industrial distributors by revenue and includes some information on the business strategies of these top companies.
In addition to this segment in our print magazine, we'll also reveal this year's ranking in our 3-part video countdown.
From September 27th to September 29th, we'll unveil this year's Big 50 companies with added commentary and analysis from our team and other industry experts.
We're super excited, and we hope you're excited too. Please join us for this year's Big 50.
You won't want to miss this.
And we're back. Anna, before we get rolling into In Case You Missed It, could you tell us a little bit more about our sponsor, the Industrial Distribution Big 50?
Sure. In case you missed it, the Industrial Distribution Big 50 list is an annual ranking of the top 50 industrial distributors by sales revenue. This hotly anticipated list will be unveiled starting September 27th when we go live with our countdown video series, where we'll walk through the Big 50 from 50 to 1 over the course of 3 videos in 3 days. Check these videos out on our website, inddist.com, and you'll get to see the ranking complete with a list of great analysis to go along with it with Andy and I at the helm.
Yeah, just continuing to, plug this. And I've always looked at it because there is a lot of peripheral information. It's not just relative to exclusively the distribution market. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of manufacturing data in there that can just help on a day-to-day basis in understanding what's going on throughout the market. So it's an awesome report.
True. I mean, the list on its own, like the top 50 is great, but really the analysis and industry insight, that's what I think you really are coming for. All right. Well, let's move on to In Case You Missed It, the stories that maybe weren't as popular on the website, despite how hard we tried to write them, and discuss the implications they might have on the industry going forward.
David's totally past it, though. He's totally over it. No problem.
Anna, what is your In Case You Missed It this week?
All right. So this week I chose a story titled Tesla Says It's Finally Flush with Battery Cells. What was that heavy sigh for?
Just a sigh of relief.
Oh, okay.
Just glad Elon's happy about something.
Seriously.
A win for Tesla.
This should not be controversial for once. So obviously we've been tracking automakers and how they've been hit hard with part shortages. So Tesla says it's currently got access to all the battery cells it needs. Martin Viecha, the vice president of investor relations at Tesla, revealed that battery parts that have been in short supply for many years are now more available. And he said that Tesla can access all the supply it needs, quote, for the first time I can remember. This includes battery cells for both its vehicle batteries and for its energy storage products. And according to Business Insider, Viecha credited Tesla's strategy of supplier diversification for the shift. So while the company once only sourced its cells from Panasonic, it's added many other big name companies to that list, and those suppliers are also ramping up production quickly. So he had added in this presentation that the EV industry will only be able to grow as fast as the capacity for the batteries to support it. And that's so true, right? Yeah. So here we have the results of a company's foresight and willingness to diversify its supply base, even though I'm guessing that meant added costs probably. And we see these panicked forecasts every so often about EV supplies and how much ramp up there needs to be in order to support this market that is going to grow exponentially once people start to buy more and more of these EVs. It's good to see that some of this stuff can be addressed with some planning and some time. Yeah. And Tesla's ahead now because their needs started earlier than some of the other automakers. So they're going to benefit from that in a number of ways, including this one. So it was positive story.
Not just ahead, but like way ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, your thoughts on, like I said, a rare win for Musk?
I think it's interesting in looking at this. You bring up, obviously we think about the EVs, but also their solar panel business and what this could mean for that. Giving them a competitive edge there, that could be huge. I mean, we talked last week or a couple of weeks actually, just about some of the different things that are going on within that sector. Again, President Biden's got some things out there that are helping to boost and provide some additional incentives for people looking to invest. And Tesla is really being very really taking the initiative and taking some different approaches too. I think that we did a story on there looking at a lithium mine, potentially, or a lithium processing facility down in Texas. I think they're actually looking at some other stuff too, like a copper mine or something like that. So for them to look outside the box, it's Elon Musk really using some of that innovative thought process that has made him super successful and sort of channeling it in a very positive way, which is nice to see.
No, that was the same thing I thought, Jeff, about the specific aspirations in mining, is that when stories like that come out, people poke fun at them and they think it's ridiculous. And, sometimes, things like the Boring Company, stuff like that, people kind of don't think it's for real. And then you see news like this come out where, everyone's kind of behind the 8 ball except Tesla as a result of their foresight. And now maybe them looking into their own mining operations, maybe not so crazy. Maybe not so crazy. Yeah. Jeff, what is your, in case you missed it this week?
So I picked a story about Bill Gates and how he's looking at tech innovation to help solve world hunger. And admittedly, when I started getting into this article, I thought, oh, it's Bill Gates came up with something cool, just got to figure out how to make it work or how to get it out there to scale, just like when he was doing stuff for water, bathrooms, clean energy, all of this kind of stuff. But it was a very different type of article. And I found it very interesting. First of all, I've always kind of a hook for different agricultural innovation. I think that's where everything starts, at a very basic level. And what he's looking at is developing different types of seeds that'll help combat a lot of the changes in climate, a lot of different types of soils around the world, especially in Africa, where it's really tough to grow stuff natively. Yeah. So basically developing these super seeds that you can put out there and putting time and energy into developing them, to helping people grow more of their own food. There's a number out there of over 300 million people who are still going to bed hungry every night throughout the world. So again, I love some of these developments that start with a core, sorry to throw out another cliche, blocking and tackling type of issue from a societal perspective, and really offering a viable solution. What's unique with this story is the amount of blowback he's getting. Yeah. There's a lot of people who are looking at this saying, no, we shouldn't be putting money into seeds because you're going to need more fertilizer. You're going to need more pesticides, which are bad for the environment because the fertilizer uses fossil fuels to make them. Then you're also looking at agricultural activities in parts of the world where there may not be other environmental controls in place. What we need to do is we need to continue to keep putting money into sending these countries food. Silos, roads, and infrastructure, things like that are more important than developing these seeds. So there's sort of a combative dynamic here. And I thought one of his great quotes, and I go back and forth on Bill Gates too. I really like some of the stuff he does, and some of it I'm not a big fan of. But he says if there's some non-innovative solution, like singing Kumbaya, I'll put money behind it, Gates said. But if you don't have these seeds, the numbers just don't work. If somebody says we're ignoring some solution, I don't think they're looking at what we're doing. So he's all in on this. Again, he's got the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with about $70 billion in funding behind it. So he's just looking for the right place to put these funds and put them to work. And again, solving these core issues that we have. And I kind of side with him on this. I feel like let's get them the food first, and we can figure out those other problems later. Yeah. I can appreciate the potential where that can go sideways and where it has gone sideways in the past, but let's get them the food first. And then we can worry about the silos and the roads and making sure we have the environmental controls in place to help them do it right. I mean, you're basically creating markets by creating food sources. That was when you were talking about the blowback, that's what I was thinking too, is what is the point of having silos and roads to transport food if you don't have the food, I mean, you can appreciate where they're coming from, but again, that'd be a great problem to have at some point for a lot of these places. So, and he did specifically, he called them magic seeds. And so we've had magic seeds and magic beans on this podcast within the last month. That's amazing. Jeff, Matthew Morris Cook, who's watching us live, thanks for watching, Matt. He says those super seeds contain micro tracking chips. You're literally ingesting the surveillance state. That might be a reach. If that is possible from a technological perspective, I just want to see it happen. Sign Jeff up, he's saying. Sure. So the seed already has the chip in it and then grows? Yeah. Or does the chip have the components? Does the seed have the components to grow multiple chips in a plant, which are then propagated into the world? Some deep thinking. I don't know. I feel like we could go down. I mean, this could be a fun road to go down. All right. If we find that on some sort of subreddit later, Matthew Morris Cook, that's on you. All right. Oh no, this one's mine.
In case you missed it this week, that I potentially worked hard on and nobody read or watched, is DARPA's new X-Plane to make leaps in aerospace tech. So, DARPA's new ancillary program wants to develop and demonstrate new technologies that promise to leap vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, or VTOLs, forward. Ancillary, which is just an amazing acronym that stands for Advanced Aircraft Infrastructureless Launch and Recovery X-Plane Program. And you have to see how they pick and choose the letters on these. It's like the A and the N in advanced, the C in aircraft. That's not
how acronyms work. You don't just get to pick whatever part of the word letter.
Yeah, no, they're just being really liberal here. But, they want to have a cool acronym and actually have it make sense. So I understand where they're going. Now, this ancillary program wants to build a plane that can launch from any environment in any weather conditions without any launch or recovery equipment. The new X-Plane would be low weight with high payload and long endurance capabilities. The program is going to study advanced propulsion architectures like hybrid electric propulsion, high-density batteries and fuel cells, and advanced structures and manufacturing techniques like additive manufacturing. A lot of VTOL research has been fueled largely by non-traditional players and led to advancements in new vehicle configurations, size, weights, and power systems. New manufacturing techniques like low-cost additive manufacturing have also birthed the possibility for new architectures and designs. Next week, the program is going to hold a Proposers Day and Expo to bring together traditional aircraft manufacturers and non-traditional military contractors. And they've actually asked or invited a lot of people from outside the industry to join, kind of share their thoughts. The concept, which if you haven't seen the video, launches like a missile, flies like a drone, and then makes deliveries, kind of like that reminded me of the tube at the bank. And I thought that long-term, Jeff, this is the thing, this is where realistic advanced air mobility could start with the military and at some point lead to passenger travel.
David, what thing is it?
This would not be the thing that leads to the thing. This would be like first generation thing that leads to like 50th generation thing. But I thought this was really cool because a lot of issues that people have had with drones and other unmanned aircraft, flying cars, stuff like that, it's all infrastructure, right?
So sincerely, I watched this. I thought it was really interesting. I really liked the video.
Thank you. You were alone. No.
Me and Carrie liked it a lot.
She didn't watch it. No.
The only concern I have, and you're more of the product development side of things, is when you see these types of projects, that's a lot of scope.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of different things, and where I wish sometimes these things were just a little more focused. I love when they're talking about using this type of vessel or ship or whatever you want to call it, eVTOL, for cargo transport. Okay, longer haul type stuff, because we talked about all the issues we're having with semi trucks. So a different way of getting cargo, especially from point A to point B, I think is always very interesting to look at. Yeah. And the fact that it doesn't need as much dedicated infrastructure to take off and land, I think is also really intriguing. But man, then you throw in all the alternative fuels and all of the other designs, and I just feel like your scope creep could really get out of control here and get in the way of really developing a more refined finished product at some point.
That's what DARPA does well, is embrace the scope creep, where they're just like, we want to see everything and we want to see what's out there, and then they're gonna through different phases of the project, see what is a legitimate candidate to move forward, and then see what is maybe a non-starter. And we've followed a couple of DARPA programs in the past, and I've thought that too, where it's just like, man, they're kind of biting off a lot here. But it's something that I think the agency does well, and we'll never see this specific aircraft. Maybe we'll see an X-plane take flight like this someday, but really it's all about the technologies that they're going to develop and help fund, and where we'll see those going forward. I also just like the idea of a flying drone or plane that takes off on its own and takes off with no infrastructure and could deliver you somewhere else. When they talk about advanced air mobility, that's when you start talking about flying taxis, Anna. And it's just like realistically, that's never going to happen because they're so big. Even if you say like all you need is a car space, it's like, yeah, well, you can't just start landing these things like nothing. But if it's a little bit sleeker design, like a missile, and a little bit easier to land and take off, maybe it's realistic.
Well, and I think part of like the scope creep and the proposer's day and the so many cooks in the kitchen is probably that the applications will become apparent as they go through the process. Maybe they don't quite understand exactly how this will be used or what's the best use case for this, but maybe as they develop, they will figure out that there's, what's the best use case? I don't know.
Yeah, like if you watch the video, the renderings are a little crude and they're very specific shots, right? They show it taking off. They don't show how it's supposed to transition into a drone. So, we're at the first step and hopefully some more interesting news will come out of it. All right. Now, before we move into final thoughts, I wanted to propose a new segment by just doing it. This is, I wanted to call it good news because we've talked a lot about asking people to send in when something cool is happening at their company, right? And this week we had 2. And so if you guys are cool with it, I just wanted to share those because they're just kind of quick hit little things about good news out in the industry from specific companies.
All right.
One was sent in from Tanya. Tanya was wanted us to know that Magline recently celebrated its 75th anniversary. The company is known for hand trucks and other equipment used for material handling of payloads up to 1,500 pounds by person rather than machine. I think everyone in this room and most people listening know Magline. But congratulations on the 75th anniversary, and thank you, Tanya, for sending that in. Now, we received another one from Monica, which very coincidentally is another 75th anniversary.
Weird.
So it was that was a banging year for industrial companies. But the company Bernard is celebrating its 75th. And that company has a history that's rich in welding product innovation. It actually started as a storefront in the southeast side of Chicago, and now the company does customizable semi-automatic air-cooled MIG guns and other welding products. Just 2 really cool things where, companies with a rich history that have evolved significantly over time, continue to do so and do well. So thank you, Tanya and Monica. See? Simple.
Yeah. No,
right?
I like it. Very cool.
All right. Well, let's move on to our final thoughts before we get out of here this week. Anna, what do you have for us for your final thoughts?
Well, I just got back from IMTS earlier this week. And one thing that I forgot, having not gone to IMTS or McCormick Place in like 4 years, was where my car was. Forgot where it was.
Don't you? You didn't forget where it was.
You forgot where it was.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy that you forgot that it was me that forgot where my car was.
It was you, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe it happened to be in the very furthest spot from where we were. Ouch. Yeah.
It was cool too because it was like, oh, we've gotten all these steps in the last few days. And then I was like, time to go home. Nope, not time to go home. Just going to keep walking around aimlessly for hours. So not hours, but 30,
it was close to an
45
hour.
minutes.
It was close to an hour because we ran into some people along the way as well. And it was, some of that was signage. I will say.
I agree.
Yeah, like one of it, like I definitely thought Lot C was connected to East. And once I walked over to meet you at East, and then, the parking meter would not read my parking ticket, I'm like, ooh, we might be in a deal of trouble here. And if you're familiar with McCormick Place, yes, that is the furthest possible point you could get outside of being in the city from Lot C. And when we finally made it to Lot C, yes, we were looking for it, and we were headed in the right direction, but they had all these big signs that said E. I'm like, I didn't even know there was an E, and we got kind of turned around. Yeah, that's not me. So.
There should be more signs. I won't blame it on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to throw some shade, but I have been there, so I can't even ridicule you for that. That's an understandable mistake.
There's a point at the end where we were like, okay, we knew we were close, but then there's a fork in the road where there's a staircase down and a staircase up, and I just stood in the middle and I was like, why? Like, what do we do? I don't know what to do.
Oh, and it was. What is also terrible is that when I noted where we parked the car, the note said East Upper, like row 11. And it was just like, oh, it was all right there. It was all right there. Yeah, that was my bad. And I mean, between that and the horrific Chicago traffic, which I can't understand, if anyone that lives in that area can explain to me how you do that every day, please do. Because I just don't understand how anyone logistically lives there and travels via car.
It was rough.
It was rough. But to piggyback on the IMTS thing, I thought it was a great show.
I did too.
Apparently attendance didn't reach the height that it was pre-pandemic, but it still was like 90 to 100,000. Saw a lot of cool new technology that's out there. We're going to do a top 10 on it that you'll see next week, the top 10 things that we saw from IMTS. But had really good visits with, Yaskawa, Form Labs, a lot of cool 3D printing stuff out there.
Yeah.
Plus, there's always the car on the robot.
Yeah, the Fanic lifting a Corvette, which was, I don't know why it was doing that, but it was awesome.
Yeah, you know why? Because it had hundreds of people standing there staring at it.
Yeah, I guess.
Like getting the branding soaking into them. We also, I also want to thank Megan Zimba, who had us. We had a cool panel discussion at the IMTS Creators Lounge.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. It was in this like big fishbowl in front of the South Hall. And, I'd like to thank all the people that stopped by and just randomly took flash photography of us as we're trying to talk about the podcast and everything that we do at IN and MNet, and then just scattered. One thing I didn't make good on was I said that I would bring shirts to hand out to people, and just the logistics of carrying around shirts around that trade show proved to be difficult.
How long did you actually carry the shirts?
Not even out of the car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. As I was like, I got everything
thought.
ready out of the car, and I had the bags of shirts. I'm like, that's just not going to happen.
No.
So gonna send those out. We collected the cards and the contact information instead. And unfortunately, the T-shirt cannon didn't come to fruition. I don't think it would have fit in the Yaris anyways. Jeff, what is your final thought this week?
So before I do my final thought, I'm just going to wrap up trivia from last week. Okay. So the trivia question last week, or the polling question, I should say, was which of the following topics have we discussed the most on the podcast in the last year? And the choices were non-safety related workplace dynamics, developments related to solar, industrial robots and cobots, laser technology, or maritime vessel activity. The poll indicated the most that they thought that we had talked about was solar. I think maybe those were just the most impactful. But in reality,
They're like,
it was
Anna,
not.
shut up about solar. All right.
Quit hugging your trees.
I get it.
Because what we did talk the most about is David's robot army that he thinks is coming down the pike. That was far and away. And going back, and it was actually really an interesting exercise going through the old podcast notes and seeing what we had talked about, how it had transitioned, but it really was not close. So thanks to everybody who took part in the polling and left comments and all that good stuff. So, but it was definitely easily robots, cobots.
Actually, on that the robot army, real quick, if I could share something from a listener of the podcast, William Brent, actually said that I was kind of flawed in the whole manufacture dates, bringing in donuts theory. When I was talking about that,
about the robots.
When there's robot workers, we won't have donuts and bagels anymore. But he did say that we will probably have one day a year where 100 robots bring in cans of oil eater. And he says that Jeff is going to like that because he uses that stuff, but I'll probably still be disappointed. That's
I would be disappointed as well.
Yeah. Oh, you brought something. That makes sense. It's oil eater.
Not that there's anything wrong with oil eater, but donuts are better.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
He also linked to a very specific episode of the X-Files, which I got to get into. And I'm looking forward to that. That's my weekend viewing about this very scenario. Sorry, I didn't mean to. It just was a perfect way to interject with William. Yep. So
you said you had to apologize for something. I do as well.
Oh.
Last week, I did say I was going to make some pizzas. Because we got
I am so excited
the feedback
to eat
from
this
Zach
pizza.
about redoing our kitchen and eating ideas. And he said about doing pizzas on the grill.
Yes, which we're going to sample now.
Yep, we skipped lunch because we cannot wait to try these. Jeff?
It doesn't smell like pizza in here.
Yeah.
Jeff, you were saying?
Here's the thing. So I took Zach's idea, and one thing that made it a little bit more unique is I only have a charcoal grill. That's all I cook with. I don't use gas grill. If I ever use the gas grill, I can just imagine the disapproving look I would get from my father. So I can't do it. So it's charcoal. So it was a little bit tricky. So I tried a couple different things. First one I did was the dough crust, and just put it on a pan, put it on the grill. And I didn't have enough charcoal in there. So it took a while. And by the time the top got nice and melty, the crust had burned.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't great. Second one, I put some more charcoal in there. Perfect. Came out great. I used like a pre-made crust, put some stuff on there. Turned out great.
Yeah.
And that's the one we're going to sample.
So where is it?
The third one, because there was too much There's too much charcoal and it got too hot. Again, charred the bottom, was not great. So what I'm trying to say is I went through all of this trial and error to try to get this right. And then I didn't have time to make pizzas today. So
That's fair.
I want you to have the pizza when it's hot off the grill. I don't want you to have to make it the night before and all that. So I need to budget my time a little better. Now that I know how much time I need to set up the grill, get everything ready, make sure there's no meat on it for, and I will definitely do that next week. But the trial and error process was actually fun, and it'll make sure everything is smooth this time, and now I know how much time I need and all that good stuff. I just ran out of it today. I'm very sorry.
No.
Hopefully there's no serious dietary issues or it didn't wreck your day or anything else.
We got snacks out there
There's
that are still brought in by the human workers.
Yeah.
Someone left some chips.
My bad. But I do appreciate Zach, his thought on that.
Yeah.
'Cause it did work out well.
Did you eat the burnt ones? Or
Oh,
were they
yeah.
crispy? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're still edible.
They were bad, but there's enough good stuff on top. That was fine.
Okay.
So let me know what you guys want on the pizza, and I will definitely make it for next week.
Okay. Do we have more trivia?
We do. So this
Okay.
week, our new polling question. Okay, which of the following, and again, we're relating to the stuff that we talked about here, which of the following do you feel has the best chance to disrupt, improve, or change the current status quo, positive or negative, within kind of the marketplace or operating environment that these companies kind of flow in? So we got Bezos and Blue Origin sort of privatizing launches and space travel, U-Boat Works expanding accessibility to personal submarines, Wolfspeed in North Carolina breaking ground on a new silicon carbide chip plant, the NTSB cracking down on bad pipes and energy infrastructure, or the railway union deal that we just talked about. So which one of those do you think is just going to have the most impact really moving forward, respective to their environment? Because I think when you start looking overall, that's probably more obvious, from a sort of a basic perspective. But within their marketplace, which one's going to have the most impact, I guess?
Okay. Interesting.
So get the polling numbers, and we'll talk about it next week.
All right. Well, we did have, it looks like Matt had a little bit of time to think tank this a little bit more. So he says the seeds contain the genetic blueprints to reconstitute the silicone polymers already present in the soil. The plants build the chips as they grow. That seems feasible to me. I mean, if
two birds,
it's not weird at all, Matt.
Yeah, if Matt got it in a couple of minutes, Gates has that figured. All right. Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you for everyone who is watching us live. We really do appreciate the feedback. Before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, David, or Anna at in.com with email the podcast in the subject line. And please subscribe to our daily and weekly newsletters to make sure that you get the podcast delivered to your inbox first. All right, for Jeff and Anna, I'm David Manti. This is the Today in Manufacturing podcast, and we will see you next week.